right? Watch this.
Alive.
Oh, man.
You never know anything about their background. But this case is totally different. And of course, we can all put together why.
Next on deck with Tim Black.
We're going to start tonight's story with the bond release of Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony was released on bond today. To the dismay of many of the conservatives.
We're up.
Here he is here being pictured walking along with protection in one of his lawyers.
Why were you armed? Karmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Ain't that bad, man? We still got dummies that don't know that Karmelo Anthony wasn't at school. He was at a track meet, was about 5 to 10 miles away from the school. And that's just part of the disinformation that I deal with on a daily basis from the knuckleheads in the comment section. How many schools that you know can have 10 different track teams at it for an event?
Excuse me. I have the problem.
What you're seeing right now is the 17-year-old accused of murder walking out of the Collin County Jail this afternoon after posting bond. Thanks for joining us here at 5 on a Monday. I'm Nicole Baker.
And I'm Doug Dunbar. So let's dive into it. Karmelo Anthony had been in jail since the 2nd of April, accused still today of killing another teenager. That's Austin Metcalf. And that accused killing happened at a track meet at a high school. Today, a judge reduced Anthony's bond from $1 million all the way down to $250,000. J.D. Miles was there for it. He's live for us right now outside the Collin County Jail. Anthony just left. We saw the video. What else do we need to know?
That's right, Doug and Nicole. Just 6 hours or about that much time after a judge lowered his bond, Karmelo Anthony was released. The judge who made the decision warned the accused murderer that if he violates any terms of his probation or tries to leave his home, he will be brought back right here to the Collin County Jail.
Karmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victim?
Karmelo Anthony emerged from the Collin County Jail 13 days after his arrest for the murder of Austin Metcalf. The high school student had nothing to say as he headed to his parents' home, where he will be confined to an ankle monitor. It's the result of a hearing this morning over whether to lower his bond. The families of both Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf arrived at the Collin County Courthouse this morning with extra security in and around the courtroom. A new defense attorney representing the Frisco teen accused of murder had his client's father testify about his son's character, telling the judge he was a captain of his football and track teams, and that he held 2 jobs while in school. He's an A student, said Andrew Anthony. Does he have plans to go to college? Yes, sir. And prior to this, what was on his mind was what college he was going to go to. This is a tragedy all the way around for both families.
Yeah, you know, we've been dealing with the misinformation of the ignorants who've been discussing Karmelo in very unfavorable terms. And this is kind of weird because when I don't know, it just seems that usually when we have a victim, when we have a perpetrator, they're very supportive of the perpetrator, and we end up knowing more about the victim than anything else. But not in this case. I don't know why that's happened this way. I ended up not knowing anything about Daniel Penny, but I knew everything about Jordan Neely. I didn't know anything about Zimmerman, but I knew everything about Trayvon Martin, all his faults, flaws, issues, even though he was a kid in high school. And in this case, it's the reverse. We don't know anything about Austin, but we know everything about Karmelo. So it's just different. But yeah, 4.0, working a couple jobs, college, captain of 2 teams. Let's keep going.
Anthony, who told Frisco police he stabbed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet in self-defense after an altercation, sat in a jail jumpsuit and shackles, while prosecutors challenged how the father could not afford the 10% needed for a $1 million bond, with an online donation fund that's up to $400,000 and growing. With access to over $400,000, why haven't you bonded him out yet? Asked the prosecutor. We don't have access to that money, replied the father.
It's hard for everybody to be level-headed.
See? I just did a video with people starting with business they had no business doing. And the influence hurt that family. Yet you could not stop what was ordained.
A time like this, so that's where we come in. It's our job to be level-headed, to be fact-based, and to follow the truth wherever it leads.
That right there is the sound of deliciousness.
And cue mouthwatering.
Did you know that in Texas, rifles can be carried in public without a license? Whereas in Florida, no open carry.
You see how much influence power our homegirl had? Stop both of the cash flow. He could have been out. 13 days later, the universe, the breath of YAHUH is off there over all things and judge it. Touched what most people say a racist court. Has nothing to do with it, man. When you're walking in right standards, the law does not hold nothing on the spirit that's at liberty. No matter what you try to concoct. It took you 13 days to figure out that he really is innocent. You concoct the story and try to make the family look good. That ain't good. Evil will be treated good and good will be treated evil. When we're gonna wake up?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I didn't understand that particular statement. All I can tell you is that if you have I don't know how sin works, but the amount that's shown as the total contributed amount may not always come in exactly at the same time as you see it. That's the posted amount, and we don't know how long it takes to do the processing, what have you. But I've only raised a couple $1,000s to do various things, to attend various political press events. So yeah, nothing even close to hundreds of thousands of dollars. But even with just a couple grand, it takes time. Let's keep going, folks.
And prosecutors revealed today that Karmelo Anthony was involved in an assault-type altercation at his school on February 4th that was handled internally by the school district. Other than that, he has an unblemished record, which is probably one of the reasons why the judge agreed to lower his bond. Live in McKinney, J.D. Miles, CBS News, Texas.
Remember, guys, Tim Black's been doing this a long time now. When a deceased person is black, they go over the background of the deceased, and we never learned anything about the person who participated in the unaliving. We never know anything about their background. But this case is totally different. And of course, we can all put together why. But at the end of the day, damn it, I wish better choices were made all the way around. I wish this didn't happen. This is not good. And I think I can speak for a lot of people that have common sense that the best outcome of this would have been both kids going home and having dinner. I wish both kids could have just went home and had dinner, and somebody, whether it be Austin's twin Hunter, breaking it up, instead of egging it on or participating in it, somebody under the tent, somebody that was there, intervening, maybe somebody from the school, being an adult, because these are both underage kids whose brains are not fully formed, which we forget, Teenagers often make rational, snap decisions based on stimuli, based on emotion.
So the truth is out, or getting out. Hold that thought, though. Hold that thought.
The hundreds set the.
We know Cypher pretty well. He comes up here and eats a lot. He's very polite, very well spoken, very educated too. The two boys, when he started walking up, automatically started verbally assaulting him and racial profiling him and calling him names.
Between 5:35 and 5:50, the two men identified as David Brimmer and Caden Johnson come back to the local smoke shop multiple times, seen taunting Bennett from the parking lot.
They were drunk. You can see it in the video, they were drunk. They were stumbling, they were slurring, everything. He went into the smoke shop to get away from the boys. And they recorded him inside the smoke shop, still assaulting him and coming at him.
Just before.
All right. Peace and blessings, all praises to the Most High. The Dred Scott decision that was made, I think in the 1700s, set the precedent that a black man has no rights that a white man is duty bound to respect. And even though that law was made way back then, it still seems in effect today, because, you know, the case of Karmelo Anthony has taken the nation by storm. You know, people have drawn lines in the sand. Is it self-defense or is it outright homicide? And I want to address this situation from this point of view with 3 distinct cases where black men have stood their ground in the face of attack, bodily harm, and even in the face of imminent danger or fear of unalivement. These 3 black men that you're going to hear about today have all stood their ground in states where stand your ground laws are prevalent, are legal, yet and still, all 3 of these men have been faced with very severe charges relating to them exercising their legal right to stand their ground. Now, that first clip you saw was that of Sypo Bennett. I think he is 32 years old. Now, this happened in the Frontenac Springs. In this case, somebody sent me a message about this case. I did a story on this case late last year, and it happened in July 4th, 2023. And it has not got very little, or it has gotten very little national coverage. And as you saw Sypo Bennett in the store, and you saw 2 of those guys, 2 white young men, I think they were in their 20s, harassing him, calling him racial slurs. I know on the video it was saying, look at that dude, look at that dude. But the news covered or made a voiceover to cover what they were really saying. And that's another part of these issues that we have, where the news tries to humanize the attackers and dehumanize the victim. Nevertheless, Sypo Bennett was walking. I think he was walking to work. Never been in trouble. Very well thought of, as you heard the lady in the store say. His boss wrote raving reviews about his work as I think it was an engineer. He was walking, and these guys started following him, calling him racial slurs, and he went into the store. Like I said, the lady said he comes into that store all the time. While he was in
Hebrews, you see how confident that kid walked out of jail? Wrongfully accused, characterized, demoralized, still head high. Y'all better take a chapter off of that. That's what it means to be humble in Christ. Learn and enact in your life.
In the store, he waited and waited and waited.
Opposite polarity people of the town is saying, media, y'all niggas is a lie. This kid is a straight A, not just family. Niggas can say, oh, family taking cover. Not no stranger. That's the same color as you niggas. Nah, that's characterization that stands, son. Truth always. But the twins, the town is saying, they no good. Why y'all not showing that? See, a liar always got to come out here with a justified story.
So much so that the guys left and came back, as the news article stated. the lies left and came back several times until Psycho Bennett decided, and you can look on that tape, even like one of the guys are mooning him. Like, these guys are drunk, they're out of line, and they have weapons in the car. And so as Psycho Bennett was leaving, and you can go back and watch that full video on my page, Stand Your Ground law doesn't apply to black men who, face racial attackers. I might put the link in the description. But he walked out the store and the guys were still coming at him, and he reached in his bag and pulled out his weapon and began firing. And then the guys, got in the car and tried to drive off. They drove off and hit some, hit some pole. One of the guys perished and one of the guys lived. And one of the guys was actually, and you can go back and watch that video. They're trying to make these guys like they're the All-American, like they have never been in trouble, but they did have a weapon in the car. So Psycho's fears were correct. Nevertheless, he was still charged and is still being charged right now, if I'm not mistaken, or second degree or even first degree homicide. Now, many people have reached out to me, trying to figure out how we can help them. Some man down in Florida even called the court-appointed lawyer, but the lawyer, advised him not to speak with anybody. I think he is of immigration status, or he's not naturally from here, so he's up against a rock and a hard place, and he's still fighting for his life today. And so that's one instance. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, once again, Karmelo Anthony was reportedly jumped by these two brothers, 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's only like 5-something, 130 pounds. He was minding his business. He was under a community tent at a track meet, and these guys tried to forcefully move him. Some people even say they were punching him. Basically, for all intents and purposes, they were jumping him, and he pulled out his legal weapon and defended himself. So this is an example of how this law does not work for black men. And only, once again, as Dred Scott said, only white people are allowed to use this and get away with it. Now, let's take a look at this second case, which I've also done a story on. Just watch this news clip.
Years in prison. That's how long a judge sentenced Mark Wilson.
That is the maximum sentence allowed after a Statesboro jury convicted Wilson last month of involuntary manslaughter in the shooting of Haley Hutchinson. We turn now to our Nakia Carrera. She's live outside the courthouse. Nakia, you have covered this trial from the beginning.
And Max Verstappen wins!
The Honorable Podium Series, engineered for exceptional results.
That's right, Greg. I've been here since jury selection to the guilty verdict and now sentencing. Judge Ronald Thompson sentenced Mark Wilson right before 5 o'clock to the maximum of 10 years. Wilson was found guilty back on August 31st of involuntary manslaughter for the 17-year-old Haley Hutchinson. Wilson was out on bond during the trial until he was found guilty. The defense team spoke to us about the conviction.
Our task was very clear, and that was to stop illegal lynching. This DA, like many runaway DAs across the state, Daphne Totten is no different from a Jackie Johnson, wanted Mark Wilson's life. And despite the verdict today, despite the sentence today, she will not have it. Mark Wilson will have a life, and I'm grateful for that.
And to see him get 10 years, I think, well, this young man, he's never been in trouble. Yeah. Mr. Johnson, I think y'all did a records check, correct? Yes. There was nothing found on this young man. This is a young man who, again, look at his family. Look at his family. From Charleston, South Carolina, all over. We're very thankful. We thank this team and know that we will continue to fight.
Nakia, what about his time served?
Greg, he has already served 682 days in jail for this case. So that time served will be put towards his 10-year sentence. Greg?
Kai Guerrero reporting live. Thanks so very much.
All right, so that is the story of Mark Wilson. Now, this happened around June 2020, and I've been fortunate enough to talk to Mr. Wilson and some of the people in his family, and he gave me some in-depth information on the case. Now, he was down in Statesboro, Georgia, visiting a young lady, and him and the girl were at Taco Bell. And as they were leaving Taco Bell, these group of drunk white kids started harassing them, throwing things at them, yelling racial slurs, trying to run them off the road, so much so that Mr. Wilson pulled out his legal firearm and he fired a shot. And when he fired that shot, he thought that that would stop the people from coming, but yet they still kept coming, and he fired another shot or two. In the midst of him firing that shot, protecting him and his girlfriend, or his lady friend at the time, that young lady that you just saw on the screen was hit. Now, he didn't intentionally do it. He was fearing for his life as these people were, it was about 2 a.m. He was in a town that he didn't know. He was being followed and harassed by a truck full of white people. Now, granted, his father is black and his mother is white. And I must say he was with a white girl. And so they were looking at him and antagonizing him probably for dating the white woman. Nevertheless, he talked to the police. He told them what happened. He didn't know that somebody had lost their life. He turned himself in, and then he was charged with, I think, once again, one of the most severest charges. And he went through the trial. Several things happened wrong in the trial. The DA, there were certain emails sent between the DA and the prosecuting attorney and the judge, and there were certain things that the children in the truck lied about. They were caught lying on the stand. It was just a mess. But yet and still, as the lawyer said, they convicted my brother of involuntary manslaughter and gave him 10 years. And if I'm not mistaken, after talking to him, if everything goes well, he could be out in the next 2 years because he did have that time served. However, he is still, hoping and praying that, he would be able to get out early, because once again, he was standing his ground. He was protecting himself. Even the young lady he was with said that, if it were not been for him, we would have lost our lives that night. All right. And so there's another instance where a black man is exercising his God-given right with his legal weapon. As his father mentioned, he had never been in trouble a day in his life, protecting himself, yet still he is not allowed to use that defense. Now, let's take it to this third story, and that is that of Maurice Bird, whom I've also talked to. Just take a look at this, and then I'll sum this up real quick.
Tonight, about a deadly encounter outside a business in Montgomery County this weekend. The owner of that business is behind bars tonight, charged with Action News reporter Brianna Smith joins us live from Hatboro with new surveillance video and information about the victim. Brianna.
Walter, police say the two men had problems in the past. In fact, officers responded to that same area 3 times before for verbal disputes between the two, and they told the men to avoid contact with each other. But police say on Saturday, the suspect ended their argument by shooting to the father of one. Denise Costello heard those 7 gunshots just feet away from her Tiano Hair and Beauty Salon in Hatboro on Saturday evening. It was crazy. It was crazy because you don't expect that here. The Montgomery County District Attorney's Office charged the 41-year-old Maurice Bird with first-degree murder-related offenses for a 37-year-old Steven Strasburg in the parking lot outside his shop. It's a little scary. You get a little shaken up. The criminal complaint states Bird owns Razor Reese's Salon and Spa on North York Road, and Strasburg lives on the second floor of the building. Investigators say Bird called 911 saying Strasburg was verbally assaulting him with racial slurs. Bird says then Strasburg grabbed his shirt and pulled his arm back like he was going to punch him. That's when Bird fired 5 shots, paused, and then 2 more shots while still on the phone with the dispatcher. Jay McCollum, who owns Sky Blue Piercing next door, ran outside to help.
I just kind of went into panic mode. I saw somebody bleeding. You know, I've got a shop filled with, you know, things that can take care of that. And so I just ran and grabbed a handful of gauze, ran out and just held it on the wound on his face and just waited there until the police came.
Witnesses told detectives Strasburg was the instigator and charged at Bird. Residents just wish their problems could have been resolved. I think it's terrible. I think that nobody should have to go through any of that.
I just feel really bad, you know, it was a horrible situation. Obviously it didn't need to happen, and yeah, you know, my heart goes out to the guy, you know, so it's really unfortunate.
And Strasburg's family says he was a hardworking man and the rock of their family. Now, police say Strasburg did not have a weapon on him at the time of the shooting, and Bird has a license to carry. Bird is currently being held in the Montgomery County Jail.
All right. And so that is the story of Maurice Bird. That happened last year in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. Now,
See the pattern? Warned to us. Told to us.
With hotels and vacation rentals, Booking.com has something for everyone.
And look, I'm gonna be honest. In my opinion, Karmelo can beat the.
Of a girl named Megan, who was young, single, and ready to leave home. Had no idea of how she was gonna do it, but her plan was to leave. Then one day, Megan met Jeff. He saw her and knew it was right. The first words was, "Girl, you thick as cold grits. Can I have your number?" Megan said to Jeff, "What are you saying? Are you saying that you like me?" He said, "Yes, if I can get your number, I will call you soon." You see, I'm a realtor here in Texas. That's what Jeff said to Megan. Megan eyeballs had the $sign and said ching, and she knew she was the one who was gonna get a new house and an umbrella that said security. That Megan thought that she found the one and everything alright. The relationship was good for a while, and then Megan came to say, she said, "Jeffrey, I think I may be pregnant with not 1 but 2. Jeffrey said, "What the fuck are you talking about? I have a career, and this is not what I want." Megan said, "You should have used a Jimmy, and I'm keeping these kids."
And look, I'm gonna show the last part of that clip at the end of this video, and it looks like he had more than those SA charges. And just to remind y'all, on this channel, we hold racist Caucasian people accountable. So if you're not racist, this belt is not for you. Now look, my people, we can no longer trust these news outlets. We have to start using these platforms ourselves to bring awareness. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of them. See, they want us to get caught up in entertainment and overlook all the real issues that's going on in our community. So we have to start being more self-reliant. And look, by now, y'all know me. I was doing more research, and I can't believe I overlooked this. Run the tapes.
He always was one to step up and be the
the person that would do the right thing. And he was doing the right thing by saying to this gentleman that you're not supposed to be in this tent. This is like because they have personal items there.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart. The guy was in the wrong place. They asked him to move.
Damn, the audacity. This woman sat there and basically said that Karmelo was under that tent to steal, that he came under that tent to sit there and steal. Make it make sense. And this dude said these words. Let's read. He said, I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet. So I said, wait. Let's start off with the knife first. I'm going to say this again. In the South, black and white young men carry pocket knives like they carry cell phones. You even have people that take their pocket knives to church because you never know. Tell me I'm lying. And see, that knife is not the important part. Why did your twins attack Karmelo? Why did your twins touch Karmelo? Those are the questions we should be asking. And then you had the audacity, you had the nerves to diss Karmelo's parents. And I told you, Jeff, you can't be doing that, man. Pull up the files. Jeffrey Metcalf, in 1984, you were speeding. In 1992, you were speeding again. In 2011, you caught the essay charge, which was a second-degree felony. Now, let's go back to those questions. But this time, let me ask you, what kind of parents did those twins have? What was they taught? And look, I know it's the past, but you have to realize if Karmelo's dad had these charges, even if just speeding on his record, it would be all over TV. It would be all over social media. So that's why on my channel, I just keep the same energy, partner. This family and the news outlets are trying to sway the jury right now with faces. He thought that he can wear a shirt that says God over all things and another shirt that says faith over fear without me noticing the scam. And not just that, the media is so cold with it. You had the cameraman zooming in and out just to show people what his shirt said. So you would have people saying, oh, he's very religious. Oh, he's telling the truth. I'm telling you, the media is cold. But the rabbit hole gets deeper. Check this out. See, we all know that she hates her ex-husband. But guess what? He raised $340K. She only raised $170K. So I said all that to say this. Everything you saw on those news outlets and those interviews from this family was all acting, was all Hollywood. I mean, of course they sad that their son died, but if you want to be for real, it was all competition. Competition to see who can be more dramatic, who can earn the most money, make it make sense. And see, with this racist system, they try to play chess against our people. So that's why I always say sometimes you have to sit back, be quiet, and use your common sense. He's a real estate agent. He raised over $340K. He can do that. He can sell you anything. He can fake cry on demand. He can fake like he's mad on demand. He can say, oh, I forgive him. He can do that all on demand because it's all acting. And she only raised $170K. I'm telling you, later on in this case, I'm going to keep watching. But that's going to be a problem because when the last time you saw one family had two separate GoFundMe accounts when one of their kids died? Make it make sense. But what they really mad at, Karmelo raised over $400K, and today he got a bond reduction for $250K. So he's on the way home. And look, I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, Karmelo can beat this case. This family is dysfunctional and divided. Karmelo's family has been together for over 17 years. I'm telling you, that plays a huge factor. A family that's together and have the support of the people they can't lose. So to Karmelo's family, we stand with you. And just like I promised y'all, here's the other half of that clip. I'm out.
So prior to the big delivery, the two got married and tried to work it out. But things just wasn't the same. Cause Megan knew Jeffrey's intentions was not to have a family. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? I can keep going on and on. Then one day after Jeff went to work, Megan was peeping out the thresholds and the blinds to make sure the car was out of the driveway. so she can go on her treasure hunt. Once she was sure that the car was down the street, she went to Jeff's bedroom to look around. She looked under the mattress and in the closets and in his pants to see if she can find something on him. Her feelings wasn't feeling of good feelings. She knew that he had done something in his past. She didn't know what, but she was determined to find out if it was the last thing she'd do. Then one day them twins came and said to Mama, they said, Mama, Jeff is not acting like a daddy. Mom said, what kids, what are you talking about? Let me go and talk to him. Jeff, my kid say you're acting funny. Is there something you want to talk to me about? Jeff said, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just my persona now. Listen, those two got some shit in their closet. That Jeffrey,
Don't do business in Florida without an LLC. It's way too risky. It only takes a few minutes to get one using Zen Business.
So people, media, big media be lying. They don't be telling the truth. That's why we got to do our own investigation. They don't like it. Stay in the Holy Spirit. Don't be deceived. Bruh! YouTube.